Um, I don't know what I walked into.
Well, you walked into the question of the night, the question before the House is, should the Second Amendment have limitations? The Navy SEAL who shot bin Laden says that shall not be infringed should have limits. We shouldn't be giving guns to psychopaths. Should the Second Amendment have limits? If so, what are they? Where's the line if there is one? So please, if you have an opinion on this subject, go ahead.
I don't know about an opinion as much as an observation.
Okay.
A long time ago, America, who probably wasn't even aware, most people weren't even aware of it until the information age, started surrendering their Second Amendment rights. They actually started surrendering them before the ink was dry on the Bill of Rights. Local ordinances, state laws, you name it. It wasn't just, 1934 and stuff like that. Shall not be infringed has not been looked at as shall not be infringed right from the beginning. And nobody checked these people in government on it, ever. And because of that, we've got 200 plus years of shall not be infringed being questioned or interpreted when it means what it says. So because they've been doing this since the beginning, they being different government agencies, different government officials in different capacities, that's why it's never going to be this clean sweep where somebody finally says it's the law of the land, respect it, or the Supreme Court says it's the law of the land, follow it. It's just not going to happen. It's just not. There's too much money to be made by both sides by having this fight go on, the fight that we're pawns in. Okay? Everybody wants to talk about how bad the NRA is. All the other organizations are the exact same as the NRA. They might do things differently. They might have a different acronym. They're all the same. The YouTubers, or some of these other places, these, gun dealers, things like that, everybody's making money off of fear. Everybody's making money off of politics. Nobody's willing to do anything. Nobody really do anything to make shall not be infringed mean shall not be infringed, because people don't have money and they don't have power if it gets interpreted that way. So it is always going to be a fight. You can choose to be in the fight or you can choose to not be in the fight. People want to blame our ancestors for this. When I'm talking about it, remember I said, before the information age, most people didn't know. Most people didn't know. They just didn't. And it wasn't like everybody walked around with a gun back in the day either. Like today, we conceal carry. Back in the 19th century, that was considered criminal and cowardly. Not very ungentlemanlike to conceal your gun. Things like that, because our society has changed. Now you have to hide it because nobody wants to see it. They'll be in line with you at the grocery store, right, roll call? Telling you how scared they are of it. So as far as limitations, America has accepted limitations. You'll have somebody who gets on a YouTube channel and screams shall not be infringed, and I'm not talking about he who strikes at night, but I'm saying just proverbially, or just there'll be that person. But then you want to check them on their shit. Do you have a concealed carry permit? Oh yeah, here it is. They pull it right out of the wallet. You just agreed to infringement. You say, so I shouldn't. I should just go ahead and conceal carry and be a criminal? No. But I'm just saying, you can virtue signal by saying one thing, but then you do something else. I encourage people to follow the laws, even if they don't agree with them, until we can change them. And it's just going to be an ongoing fight. So I don't believe it should have limitations, although I am kind of with roll call about the whole nuclear thing, and I'm not exactly sure how to address that without going down, I'll say it, the slippery slope of saying, well, if you can ban nukes, then you can ban everything else. One thing about it, though, it is cost prohibitive to have some of this stuff. It really is. So
Elon Musk or Bill Gates could have them.
Right, and that's about it. Seriously.
I don't know. I don't know if I want either one of them with their finger on a nuclear button. I'm just saying.
I know, but what I'm saying, though, is they're the only ones who can really afford this. It's a very small percentage of the population, and they still wouldn't be able to raise enough to be able to fight they might have one nuke, right? Or they might have a couple airplanes or something like that, but they're not going to, be able to take on the entire Air Force or something. As far as owning an Apache, I don't know about owning an Apache, but I know you can own a Cobra. There are privately owned Cobra helicopters with guns on them. And there's regulations that go with that, but you can own a warplane. You can own a tank. You can own a tank. You can shoot the main gun on a tank. It's going to cost you $200 in a tax stamp every time you press the trigger, but it's on top of the cost of the ordnance and the wear and tear on the barrel. But you can do those sorts of things. Now, it's not common knowledge, but do I think they should regulate it like that to try to discourage the average person from having it? I think capitalism will do that. Do you know how much fuel it costs to drive a tank? Do you know how much heavy equipment you're going to need in order to move the tank somewhere? Let's say you had it at home and you wanted to take it out to a meet somewhere. You're going to have to get this thing on the back of a flatbed truck and drive it, or get it onto a rail car and send it. Just one thing after another with everything you've got. Look at some of these collectors who own millions of dollars worth of these full auto weapons from World War II and stuff like that. They're in glass cases, vacuum sealed. They got alarm systems all over the place, and they hardly ever take these things out and shoot them because they're so valuable. They spend all this money on security and preservation. You and I aren't going to spend that sort of money. So I think capitalism can handle people having their own private armies or having weapons of mass destruction or whatever, the same way capitalism can handle so many other issues that we create in this country. We're a capitalist society, and although sometimes being a capitalist means you're a douchebag, there's nothing illegal about being a douchebag. So I just think that there's enough in play that already just exists on its own that would probably resolve some of the worries and issues. But anytime you accept an infringement, you're saying that you're okay with other ones. Like, for example, I don't think that children should be able to buy guns from an FFL, right? But if their parents want to get them those guns, then that's on the parents, right? Okay, now I'm accepting an infringement. Or I don't think foreigners living here should be able to have a weapon. And I don't know under what circumstances they can have a weapon until they get their citizenship, or if they're with somebody, an American citizen who owns that weapon, and they're guest hunting or at the gun range, so that's one thing. But just being able to buy one, I don't know the stipulations on that, but I imagine there's probably something in there where somehow or another they can get access to it, or a special permit or something like that. So I'm not big on that. Felons, maybe felons shouldn't be let out of prison if they're that big of a danger. I didn't agree with it at first, but given some time to think, when I've heard other people say once they paid their debt to society, they should be able to buy a gun again. And if they don't trust them with a gun, then why are they letting them out of prison to begin with? And look at how many felons get paroled and then they go right back to committing crime. So what, they should be trapped in prison forever, or given one second chance? I don't know the answer to that either, but I'm not big on the idea of felons being able to legally purchase guns. But we know that they just get them illegally. So, restricting me to stop that felon isn't going to work. So why bother? So I don't really have a good, solid fix for it. But Americans have been accepting infringements since the beginning, since we became a country. We're still accepting them. We all do it. I don't care who you are. I don't care how patriotic you are, or how hardcore Second Amendment you are. We all do it. So how do we say no infringements without becoming criminals? Or how do we say no infringements without Bill Gates getting his hand on a nuclear weapon, right? I just don't have the answer.
Let's see what they've been saying out in the chat. Let me back this up just a little bit. Let's see. G-Webs says, people who have killed on demand for money are shaming others about giving guns to lunatics. Does he not see a future where they consider his past deeds a good reason for limiting his access? Talking about the SEAL, apparently, that shot bin Laden. Patriot asked, was his limit only on psychopaths? That's how the tweet read.
Would you like maybe a better idea of where he's coming up with this point of view?
Sure.
Okay, so when I came home from Somalia and Bosnia, I was of the opinion that civilians should not own military weapons. Yes, I was that guy for a short time because of what I saw overseas. Only the bad guys and the bullies had the guns and they had military equipment and things like that, and the civilians didn't. And when you give people access to this stuff, they're going to become thugs and bullies and warlords and all these other things, right? I only had that opinion for a short time when I realized two things. One, I took an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. And in the Second Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America, it says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So that opinion is in conflict with my oath. The other thing is, if the civilians, or if the people that weren't thugs, criminals, gangs, and warlords had access to the same military hardware as the warlords, we wouldn't have to go over there and get involved because they could take care of their own problems.
Yep.
And that, to this day, is why I don't care what you see in war that is horrible. I don't care how many of your friends died over there or how many people come back maimed and are messed up for life. I don't care how bad the atrocities are that make you wake up in the middle of the night and just haunt you forever. You need to understand that America had to go over to that third world shithole and get involved because they don't have a Second Amendment, and that you took an oath to defend the Constitution. And that is, if you're not willing to do that, then take off the uniform and shut the fuck up. Seriously. So I had that opinion for a short time, and I got my head out of my ass, and I realized how hypocritical I was being and how I was looking at everything slanted and one-sided. This guy's probably traumatized, and this guy's probably thinking, you know, like the same old, what everybody says, if we just get rid of all the guns, it'll all stop. You're not going to get rid of them. And even if you could, they'll just use knives and cars and bombs and fire, and the list goes on and on and on. So that's probably where he's coming from. He saw some
Funny you
stuff.
mentioned cars. There was there was a guy in Berlin who just drove through a crowd of people.
Yeah,
Harder than hell to get guns in Germany, but okay. I'll just drive through a bunch.
You know, I mean, Obama was talking about it's easier to get a Glock than a library book. I want to know if anybody's ever been killed with a library book. Because, you know, that just... So the whole point is, though, that I can see where he's coming from. His heart's in the right place. But his heart and his mind and his mouth are not wired together. And he's saying some things out of ignorance. The same way I thought what I thought for a short time out of ignorance, and I'm glad I got my head out of my ass. He needs to get his head out of his ass and realize the fact that he's not giving it the full picture. He's not looking at the broader picture. He's just focusing on one thing, just like all these other people that focus on one thing for political gain or to make money or to seek closure, they will never get.